Welcome to the world of science fiction stories, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe my channel. Enjoy the listening. Ancient alien starship dormant for 200,000 years, awakened by a single human touch. The deep space exploration vessel Horizon drifted silently through the void, approaching an uncharted moon orbiting a gas giant in the 2CD system. Dr. Hannah Kim adjusted her viewscreen, her eyes narrowing at the anomalous readings. "Captain Park, you need to see this," she called, her voice steady despite her excitement. Captain June Park joined her at the console, his weathered face illuminated by the blue glow of the scanner. "What have you found, Doctor?" "Something buried beneath the moon's surface. It's enormous, and it's not natural," Captain Park frowned, studying the readings. "How did we miss this on the initial scans?" "It seems to be absorbing our standard scanning frequencies," Hannah explained. "I only found it because I was testing a new deep penetration algorithm." Park nodded slowly. "Inform the crew, we're changing course to investigate." The ship adjusted its trajectory, descending toward the barren, crater-marked surface of the moon. The bridge crew worked in focused silence, each person aware they might be on the verge of making history. Within hours, the survey team prepared to deploy to the moon's surface. Hannah led the expedition, accompanied by engineers Taeyong Lee and Mina Choi, as they suited up in the airlock. Taeyong checked his equipment nervously. "What do you think it is?" he asked. Mina shrugged, securing her helmet. "My guess, a natural formation our scans couldn't properly interpret." "Then why are your hands shaking?" Taeyong asked with a small smile. Within the hour, their lander touched down near the coordinates. Their exosuits hummed quietly as they approached the excavation site, where drones had cleared away centuries of lunar dust. The weak sunlight cast long shadows across the lifeless landscape. What they found defied explanation: a massive structure of unknown origin, its metallic surface etched with intricate patterns that seemed to shimmer despite the absence of light. The structure extended beyond what they could see, disappearing into the moon's crust. "This is impossible," Taeyong whispered, his voice tense over the comm link. Mina's fingers moved rapidly over her portable scanner. "Preliminary dating puts this at approximately 200,000 years old," she reported, her voice hushed with awe. Captain Park spoke through their comms from the ship. "Any sign of who built it?" "Nothing obvious," Hannah replied, walking along the edge of the exposed section. "No symbols we can recognize as language, but these patterns." She traced her gloved finger over the air above the intricate designs. "They're too precise to be random." The team set up scanning equipment, mapping what appeared to be just a small section of a much larger structure. After 3 hours of work, they had confirmed what Hannah had suspected: they had discovered an artificial structure larger than any known spacecraft. "I think it's a ship," Hannah announced, reviewing the compiled data. "Or what's left of one." Taeyong's scanner suddenly beeped urgently. "I'm detecting an entrance mechanism on the eastern face, but it's unlike anything in our database." The team converged on the location. What appeared to be a doorway was embedded in the metallic surface, surrounded by concentric circles of the same shimmering patterns they had observed elsewhere. "Let's try to open it," Hannah decided. The team tried every conventional method to activate it: electronic pulses, sonic resonance, even directed radiation. Nothing worked. The door remained stubbornly sealed, as it had been for 200 millennia. As the hours passed, frustration mounted. They had made the discovery of the century, perhaps of all human history, but could not access its secrets. "We should return to the ship and wait for the research team," Mina suggested, her voice tired. "They'll have better equipment." Hannah stood before the door, staring at the patterns that seemed to shift and change when viewed from different angles. After coming this far, the thought of leaving without seeing what lay inside felt unbearable. "One more try," she said, frustrated, and following an instinct she couldn't explain, Hannah removed her glove, breaking protocol. The cold vacuum protection layer on her suit would keep her hands safe for a few moments, but it was still a dangerous move. "Dar. Kim, what are you doing?" Captain Park's voice crackled with alarm over the comm. "Maybe we're overthinking this," she muttered, reaching out toward what appeared to be a control panel in the center of the door. Sometimes the simplest solution. The moment her bare fingers made contact with the alien surface, something extraordinary happened. Instead of the deadly cold she expected, the surface felt warm, almost alive. The ship hummed to life beneath her touch, patterns of light rippled outward from her hand, spreading across the entire surface of what they now realized was an enormous starship. The team stepped back in shock as the ground beneath them vibrated, dust that had settled for thousands of years shook free, creating a cloud around them as more of the ship revealed itself, systems activating in sequence. "What did you do?" Taeyong gasped, his scanner now showing energy readings where before there had been nothing. Hannah stared at her hand in disbelief. "I just touched it." The door before them slid open with surprising smoothness, revealing a dark corridor leading into the depths of the ancient vessel. Soft blue light began to glow along the walls, as if inviting them inside. "Captain," Hannah reported, her voice barely above a whisper, "the ship is active and I think it's been waiting for us." In the silence that followed, the team stood at the threshold of a discovery that would forever change humanity's understanding of its place in the universe. Something that had slept in the dark for 200,000 years had awakened to a human touch. The team cautiously entered the awakening vessel, their helmet lights cutting through darkness that hadn't been disturbed for millennia. With each step they took, more systems activated around them, as if the ship itself was stirring from a long slumber. "It's responding to our presence," Mina whispered, watching as dormant panels illuminated their path. The air inside the ship was surprisingly breathable, though stale. After confirming this with her instruments, Hannah made the decision to remove her helmet, the others followed with hesitation. "It smells old," Taeyong said, wrinkling his nose like a museum curator. They moved deeper into the vessel, following corridors that lit up as they approached. The architecture was unlike anything human designers would create, curves instead of angles, surfaces that seemed both solid and fluid simultaneously. "These materials aren't in our database," Mina reported, scanning a wall that shimmered with faint colors when touched, some kind of metal organic composite. Hannah led them forward, drawn by an instinct she couldn't explain. The ship seemed to guide them, opening doors and illuminating pathways as if anticipating their movements. After 20 minutes of careful exploration, they reached what appeared to be a central chamber. The room was circular, with a raised platform in the center. As they entered, the lights brightened and the walls came alive with flowing patterns. "Look," Taeyong pointed upward. Above them, a holographic display suddenly materialized. Symbols flowed across it, swirling and shifting like schools of fish. At first, they were completely alien shapes and forms that made no sense to human eyes. Then, gradually, the symbols began to change, morphing into forms that seemed vaguely familiar. Lines rearranged themselves, patterns simplified. "It's translating itself," Hannah realized, watching in awe. "Adapting to us." The transformation continued until recognizable letters and numbers appeared, still flowing across the display but now in patterns they could begin to understand. "Some kind of artificial intelligence," Taeyong suggested. "It must be analyzing our language from our communications." As if in response to his words, a voice, melodic and neither male nor female, filled their helmets. "Welcome, descendants. You have awakened the repository." Taeyong instinctively reached for his weapon, but Hannah gestured for calm. Her heart raced, but she kept her voice steady. "We are human explorers," she responded. "Who are you?" The flowing symbols paused briefly, rearranging themselves into a complex pattern before resuming their dance across the holographic field. "This vessel belongs to those you would call the archivists. I am its custodian intelligence." Captain Park's voice came through their comms from the ship outside. "Dar. Kim, what's happening in there?" "First contact, Captain," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "The ship has an eye, it's communicating with us." The team spent the next hour in careful dialogue with the custodian intelligence. It answered their questions patiently, explaining that the vessel they had discovered was one of many scattered throughout the galaxy. This is a repository of knowledge, the AI explained, a library containing the collective wisdom of those who came before. Before what? Hannah asked. Before the great silence, before the loss. Over the following hours, they learned that the archivists had been ancient galactic historians, a species dedicated to preserving knowledge of countless civilizations. As other species rose and fell, the archivists collected their achievements, their art, their science, and their history. The ship has been here for 200,000 years, Mina said in disbelief. That's older than our entire species. Yes, the AI confirmed. This vessel was placed in stasis, programmed to await discovery. But why did it respond to us? Hannah asked, to me. The holographic display shifted, showing what appeared to be a double helix pattern, but with subtle differences from human DNA. This vessel was programmed to awaken only when touched by beings with specific neural patterns. Many species have discovered this vessel over the millennia, none could activate it until you. Captain Park, who had joined them an hour into the exploration, frowned. Why your species? Possesses a unique balance of attributes the archivists sought in their successors. The touch of your kind carries this signature. The AI guided them through different sections of the ship, showing them storage areas containing what it called memory crystals, data storage devices holding the complete records of dozens of extinct civilizations. Is that what happened to the archivists? Hannah asked. Did they go extinct? The hologram shifted again, showing a sequence that looked like beams of light transforming from solid forms into pure energy. The archivists did not abandon this vessel, the AI continued. They evolved beyond physical form, but desired their knowledge to continue benefiting the galaxy. You are their chosen inheritors. The implications of this statement stunned the team into silence. Humans, barely spacefaring for a century, had been selected by an ancient civilization as worthy successors to their knowledge. Can we access this knowledge? Taeyong asked. Finally, you already have begun, the AI replied. The neural interface activated and Dr. Kim touched the control panel. Hannah felt a chill run down her spine. What do you mean? The ship has been scanning your brain wave patterns, learning your language, understanding your species. The full repository will become accessible as compatibility is established. Is it dangerous? Captain Park asked, his protective instincts triggered. No, more dangerous than learning, as to any species, the AI replied. Knowledge transforms, that is its nature. Mina approached one of the memory crystals, a translucent object about the size of her palm. What's in these? That particular crystal contains the complete artistic achievements of the Lyron civilization. They flourished for 30,000 years before their sun expanded. Their music could alter emotional states with remarkable precision. As the team explored further, they realized the enormity of what they had discovered. The ship contained not just technology, but the cultural and scientific achievements of dozens of civilizations, some that had existed millions of years ago. Why would the archivists choose humans? Captain Park asked. We're young, primitive compared to what's in these records. The AI's voice seemed to soften. Youth has advantages, and you are not chosen for what you are, but for what you might become. Earth authorities scrambled to respond to the unprecedented discovery. The Horizon was ordered to remain in orbit while additional research teams were dispatched. The news was kept secret from the public, while officials debated how to proceed. 3 days after the initial discovery, 5 more ships arrived from Earth. They brought scientists, military personnel, and government officials, all eager to see the archivist vessel. Hannah stood at the airlock as the first shuttle docked. She had barely slept in those 3 days, spending every moment she could exploring the ship with Mina and Taeyong. Dr. Sakong, Earth's leading xenanthropologist, was the first to step through the airlock. His presence wasn't surprising. What surprised Hannah was how old he looked, his face lined with worry, his eyes tired. Dr. Kim, he said, shaking her hand firmly, I came as soon as I heard. This discovery changes everything. That's what I've been telling them. She replied, but I don't think anyone truly understands yet. Sango nodded. Not just for humanity, but for our place in the galactic community. The others are already responding, Hannah asked. 3 other spacefaring species have contacted Earth, they're sending representatives. Hannah led Dr. Sakong through the ship, showing him the central chamber where the AI primarily communicated with them. As they walked, more systems activated, responding to their human presence. It still amazes me, she said, every time we enter a new area, it's like the ship wakes up a little more. Sung ran his hand along one wall, watching as patterns of light followed his touch. It's designed for human interaction, he observed, almost as if the archivists knew we would find it someday. The next week was a blur of activity. More scientists arrived daily, they set up laboratories inside the vessel, analyzing its materials and technology. Military personnel established security protocols, though the ship itself seemed to have its own ideas about who could access certain areas. Hannah remained the primary communicator with the ship's eye, it seemed to prefer her, though it would respond to any human. The relationship felt almost personal, as if the ancient intelligence was genuinely curious about her. Do you have a name? She asked one night, sitting alone in the central chamber. The holographic display swirled thoughtfully. The archivists did not use names as you understand them, but you may call me Keeper if you wish. Keeper, she repeated. It suits you. Exactly 2 weeks after the discovery, the first alien representatives arrived. Their ship was sleek and silver, clearly more advanced than human vessels. The Liens were the first non-human species humans had encountered just 30 years earlier, their relations had been peaceful but distant. Dante, the Lien representative, was tall and thin, with pale blue skin and large dark eyes. He moved with a careful grace as he boarded the horizon. We request permission to examine the archivist vessel, he said formally to Captain Park. Park looked to Hannah, who nodded. I'll take him, she said, as they entered the ship. Hannah watched Dante carefully. The Lien's eyes widened as he took in the architecture, his long fingers tracing patterns in the air as if mapping the space. It's remarkable, he said softly. We have records of the archivists, but they were ancient, even when my species first reached the stars. In the central chamber, Keeper's holographic display shifted, taking on a new pattern that seemed designed for perception. Welcome, Dante of the Lion Confederacy, the AI said. Dante's posture stiffened. It recognizes me. The repository contains records of 317 Lion historical periods. Keeper replied, your species has been observed for 4 million years, something that might have been embarrassment crossed Dante's alien features. We have found similar ships, he admitted after a moment, but none would awaken for us. Keeper's display shifted again. The archivists designed their legacy to respond only to specific neural patterns. Humans possess these patterns uniquely among current species. Over the next few days, representatives from the Morvan Collective and the Dijin Empire also arrived. Each confirmed the same thing, their civilizations had discovered similar vessels, but none had ever activated them. As days passed, Hannah's team made remarkable discoveries. They found they could intuitively operate the ship systems, almost as if the technology had been designed with human minds in mind. It's responding to our thought patterns, Mina explained to a group of scientists as she activated a star chart showing regions of space no human had ever explored. It's like it knows what we're thinking before we do. Taeyong had discovered he could interface with the ship's propulsion systems. I can feel how it works, he tried to explain, not just understand it intellectually but feel it. The alien representatives watched these demonstrations with expressions that ranged from fascination to barely concealed envy. Your species is remarkably compatible, Dante observed to Hannah. One might think you were designed for this purpose. Hannah shared this comment with Keeper later. The archivists observed early hominids on Earth, they saw potential. You're saying they influenced our evolution? Hannah asked, shocked. No, they observed and waited, Keeper replied. They predicted, the archivists were patient. The most startling revelation came a month after the initial discovery. Keeper showed them records of the archivists themselves, beings who had begun as physical entities not unlike humans, but eventually evolved beyond physical form, ascending to a state of pure consciousness. They left this legacy for worthy successors, the AI explained, as the team watched the recording of beings of light shedding their physical forms. You are the first to qualify in 200,000 years. But why us? Sango asked, the question that they had all been wondering. We're young, primitive compared to the Liens or the Morvans, youth has advantages, Keeper replied. Your neural patterns contain a unique balance of logic and intuition, creativity and discipline. This balance is rare. As the implications of this inheritance began to sink in, Earth's authorities debated how to proceed. Some wanted to move the ship to Earth, others believed it should remain where it was, under international control. The ship cannot be moved yet, Keeper informed them when asked. Not until full integration is complete. Integration? Hannah asked. The transfer of knowledge must be gradual, too much, too quickly would be harmful. Hannah understood. Already, the technologies they had begun to comprehend were changing human scientific understanding. Faster-than-light travel, which had been theoretical, was now clearly possible. Energy generation systems that made current human technology look primitive were being studied. We're not ready for all of it, she told Suno. Not yet, he nodded, watching as Mina used her thoughts to guide a holographic display showing the structure of a star. No, but we're learning fast. The discovery had upset the delicate balance of power in the galaxy. 3 months after the Archivist ship awakened, a new alien fleet arrived in the TS City system. Their ships were unlike the diplomatic vessels that had come before, these were clearly warships, their hulls bristling with weapons. They're hailing us, Communications Officer Geo reported on the bridge of the horizon. Captain Park nodded grimly. He put them through. The screen flickered to life, revealing a being with red gold scales and 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern. The universal translator took a moment to calibrate before the alien's words became clear. I am High Commander Zev of the Verax Dominion. You will surrender the Archivist vessel immediately. Captain Park, he continued, this is Captain June Park of Earth. The vessel you refer to is under our protection by right of discovery. The Verax commander's upper eyes narrowed. Your species is barely out of its cradle. You cannot be trusted with such power. The transmission ended abruptly. Park turned to Jiho. Send a message to Earth, we need reinforcements down on the moon's surface. Hannah and her team were unaware of the confrontation. They had established a permanent research base near the entrance to the Archivist ship. Inside, Suno was mapping a section of memory crystals when Keeper's holographic display suddenly changed color. What's happening? Hannah asked, noticing the shift. Hostile vessels have entered the system, Keeper replied. Their intentions are aggressive. Hannah activated her comm link. Captain Park, what's going on up there? A species called the Verax has arrived, they're demanding we hand over the ship. Don't, Hannah said quickly. Let me check something. She turned back to Keeper. Do you have records of the Verax? The holographic display shifted, showing images of the red-scaled aliens across different time periods. The Verax Dominion has existed for approximately 50,000 years. They were evaluated by the Archivists on 3 separate occasions. Evaluated? Like how humans were evaluated? Yes. The Archivists tested many species for compatibility, and the Verax were found unsuitable each time. Hannah felt a chill. I've discovered something important, these same species were evaluated by the Archivists centuries ago and found wanting. What does that mean? Park asked. They were rejected, she explained. They lack something the archivists valued, that's why they can't activate the ships. Over the next few hours, tensions escalated. The Verax ships moved into blocking positions around the moon. 3 Earth military vessels arrived as reinforcements, but they were clearly outmatched by the alien technology. Earth's diplomatic corps attempted negotiations, but the Verax were unyielding. The technology must be shared for the benefit of all spacefaring species, their ambassador insisted. Keeper provided more information as the standoff continued. The Verax believe in supremacy through technological dominance. They have absorbed technologies from 12 less advanced species, often through force. That's why the archivists rejected them. Hannah realized, they don't seek knowledge for understanding, but for power. The situation deteriorated rapidly when, without warning, the Verax launched an attack. Their weapons, far more advanced than Earth's defenses, disabled the Horizon and the reinforcement vessels. Within minutes, they were sending boarding parties, Taeon reported, watching the scanner shuttles heading for the surface. Hannah and her team retreated into the archivist ship, sealing the entrance behind them. But the Verax had weapons that could cut through even the ancient materials. Though slowly, they'll be through in 20 minutes, Mina calculated, listening to the cutting tools working on the outer hull. Keeper. Hannah called urgently. Can the ship defend itself? The repository contains defensive capabilities, but they require proper authorization. I'm asking for authorization, Hannah said. We need to protect the ship and our people. Full defensive systems require complete neural integration, Keeper explained. It is not without risk. Hannah made a desperate decision. She moved to the central chamber, to the raised platform that they had discovered contained the ship's primary interface. She placed both hands on the smooth surface, feeling it warm beneath her touch. Show me how to protect us, she whispered. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Information flooded her mind, not as words or images, but as pure understanding. She saw the ship systems as patterns of light and energy, flowing and interconnected. She felt the Verax ships as disturbances in these patterns, aggressive discordances with a thought that wasn't quite her own. Hannah activated the ship's defense mechanisms. She didn't understand the technology, not consciously, but some deeper part of her mind grasped its principles. Space itself seemed to fold around the attacking vessels, their weapons went silent, their engines stopped, they hung in space, completely immobilized but undamaged. The archivists upheld violence, Keeper explained, as Hannah slowly removed her hands from the interface, her mind spinning with the experience. Their technology was designed to protect, not destroy. On the surface, the Verax cutting team suddenly found their tools non-functional. The material they had been cutting had somehow repaired itself, with no sign they had made progress. The Verax commander, speaking through a forced communication channel, was bewildered. What have you done? Our systems register no weapon signatures, yet our ships are completely disabled. Hannah, still dizzy from the interface, smiled faintly. We didn't use weapons, we just touched the right controls. Impossible, the commander snarled. No primitive species could operate archivist technology to this level. That's where you're wrong, Hannah replied. The archivists chose us precisely because we're not like you. We don't see knowledge as a weapon. For 3 days, the Verax ships remained trapped in the spatial distortion. Earth sent diplomats and additional forces, though they were unnecessary. When the field finally released them, the Verax retreated without further confrontation. They will return, Keeper warned. The Verax do not surrender their ambitions easily. Next time, we'll be better prepared, Hannah said. That night, alone in her quarters, she looked at her hands. They appeared unchanged, but she knew something fundamental had shifted. When she connected with the ship's systems, knowledge that should have taken decades to understand now seemed intuitive. What did you do to me? She asked Keeper. Nothing that was not already possible, the eye replied. The neural pathways were always present in your species, the interface merely activated them. Hannah nodded slowly. And the others, will they change too? All humans who interact deeply with the repository will evolve in similar ways. It is the inheritance the archivists intended. An inheritance the Verax wanted for themselves, she murmured. Yes, but they could never receive it, their minds reject the balance required. As Hannah drifted to sleep, she wondered what other changes awaited humanity. As they continued to explore their unexpected inheritance, the threat had been neutralized, but the journey had only just begun. In the months that followed, humanity began the careful process of integrating archivist knowledge into their civilization. They moved slowly, understanding that too much changed too quickly could be dangerous. Earth scientists worked with Keeper to select which technologies should be introduced first. Clean energy came first. Within 6 months, fusion reactors based on archivist designs began replacing older power plants on Earth. Medical technologies followed, curing diseases that had plagued humanity for centuries. We need to be responsible with this gift, Hannah told the United Earth Council during a meeting. The archivists trusted us with this knowledge for a reason. The council agreed. They established the Archivist Integration Authority with Hannah as its director. Her experiences connecting with the ship systems had changed her, she could process information faster, see patterns others missed. Medical scans showed her brain had physically changed, forming new neural pathways. She wasn't the only one, everyone who worked closely with the ship for extended periods began to show similar changes. They weren't becoming something other than human, they were becoming more of what humans could be. 3 months after the Verax attack, Keeper revealed something remarkable. There are others, the AI told Hannah during one of their regular conversations. Other repositories. This vessel is one of 17 scattered throughout the galaxy. The holographic display showed a map of the Milky Way, with points of light marking the locations of other archivist ships. Some were in systems humans knew, others in places they had never explored. The archivists created this network as a safeguard against knowledge being lost to time, Keeper explained during a briefing with Earth's leaders the following day. They seeded these vessels across the galaxy, waiting for a species with the right qualities to find them. And we're supposed to find them all? Asked the President of the United Earth Council. That is your inheritance, if you choose to accept it, Keeper replied. The decision was unanimous, humanity would seek out the other repositories. The first expedition was planned immediately, with the Horizon refit with technologies adapted from the archivist ship. Hannah led the mission to the closest repository, located in orbit around a neutron star in the Carina Nebula. The journey, which would have taken decades with previous human technology, took just 3 weeks. They found another ship, similar to the first but with subtle differences. As they approached in a shuttle, Hannah felt a flutter of nervousness. What if it doesn't respond to me? She asked Tayden, who had joined the expedition. It will, he said confidently. Trust yourself. The second ship was dark when they reached it, dormant like the first had been. Hannah, wearing only a light environmental suit, placed her hand on what appeared to be an entrance panel. As expected, it awakened to her touch just as the first had done, lights rippled across its surface, and an entrance appeared before them. Welcome, inheritors, a voice similar to Keeper's greeted them. This is Repository 7. Over the next 6 months, 3 more expeditions located and awakened additional repositories, each containing different knowledge focused on different aspects of the civilizations the archivists had studied. Other galactic species were forced to reassess their understanding of humans. The Liens, who had once viewed humans as primitive curiosities, now sought formal alliances. The Morvan Collective offered trade agreements. Even the Verax, after their defeat, sent diplomatic envoys. They fear us now, Captain Park observed during a meeting with Hannah. They shouldn't, Hannah replied. That's not what this knowledge is for. Not all humans agreed. Some military leaders saw the archivist technology as a means to establish human dominance in the galaxy. They pressured the council to weaponize what they were learning. During one heated debate, Sunko asked Keeper a question that had been on many minds: what made us worthy? The AI, during a quiet moment of reflection, responded, why humans and not the others? The holographic display shifted, showing what looked like brain scans of different species. You possess a unique balance of logic and emotion, creativity and discipline, individualism and community. Keeper explained, the archivists believed this balance was necessary for true wisdom, and our touch. Hannah asked, looking at her hands, why does the ship respond to our physical contact? The neural patterns in your brains extend to your fingertips. The archivists designed their technology to recognize these patterns, a test no artificial intelligence could circumvent. This explanation helped humanity understand their responsibility better. They weren't chosen because they were superior, but because they had potential. 1 year after the initial discovery, the first archivist vessel, now renamed Legacy, was fully integrated with human technology. It had been enhanced and modified, becoming a true vessel for exploration rather than just a repository. The day of its maiden voyage arrived, a crew of 50, all trained in archivist systems, prepared to journey beyond known space. Hannah would serve as the ship's primary interface, connecting directly with its systems. Are you nervous? Mina asked her as they prepared for departure. Yes, Hannah admitted, but excited too. We're going to see things no human has ever seen. No human, and no archivist, Mina added. We're going beyond their maps now. Captain Park joined them on the bridge as the final preparations were completed. The Legacy hummed with power, its systems responding to the crew's thoughts almost before they were formed. Where are we going? Captain Park asked, as the ship's engines hummed to life. Hannah smiled, her fingers lightly tracing patterns on the control surface. The navigation display shows countless stars, most unexplored, to find what the archivists found, she said, as they continued their work. The Legacy accelerated smoothly away from the moon, where it had slept for 200,000 years. Hannah felt a sense of rightness. The archivists had preserved knowledge, but humanity would use it to explore, to discover, to connect. The ship moved faster than any human vessel had ever traveled, leaving the Taft-City system behind. Moments ahead lay the unknown, new worlds, new species, new knowledge to collect and preserve. As they passed into uncharted space, Hannah thought about how it had all started with a simple human touch, awakening something ancient and powerful. Humanity had touched the stars, and the stars had touched back.